Speaker, well, dealing with this pandemic has been a case of dealing with uncertainty in large degree. And today we have more certainty because we know that this vaccine is safe and effective. But just as I was saying to the honourable member opposite, that we don't know the effect of the vaccine on transmission, so we, as my right honourable friend says, we don't know the effect of the vaccine in terms of its longevity, how long it will be effective for. He's quite right about another part of public health advice that we can all play a part in as local representatives, and that is the engagement with contact tracing. I will write to him on the point about the access to daily data in Essex. Of course, we have to wait until the test result comes in, which can sometimes lead to a delay, even though now the majority of tests that are done in person do come back within 24 hours. But I agree with him in principle, and let's make that reality in practice.
Let's head up to Scotland with SNP spokesperson Dr Philippa Whitford. Dr Whitford.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. As chair of the all-party group on vaccination, I absolutely welcome the authorisation of the Pfizer vaccine and would echo the Shadow Secretary's call for a public health campaign to encourage uptake. It will naturally take some time before it's widely available, so we all still need to stick to the rules and ensure we can test, trace, isolate and support all those carrying the virus. Last week, the Secretary of State claimed the pilot project of mass testing in Liverpool was responsible for driving down cases, despite the city having been under lockdown for much of the time. Lateral flow tests miss up to 40% of cases, so the government's plan to use them to free people from isolation are causing concern among many public health and screening experts. So when will the formal assessment of the pilot be published? And how can he justify already putting out tenders for £40 billion of contracts to extend this approach without scientific evaluation? Would it not be better to invest some of this money in getting the traditional test, trace and isolate system working properly? As 6 months on, the Serco and Citel system has still not improved, and over 40% of contacts in England are still not being informed they should be isolating. He doesn't often talk about it, but he knows it's not testing, but isolation which actually stops the spread of the virus. So if people who are carrying the virus are not isolating, no amount of mass testing will stop its spread. When I raised the King's College report last week that less than 20% of cases and only 10% of contacts were isolating, the Secretary of State claimed the government has data showing much higher compliance. So can he tell us the figures for isolation rates for those with COVID and their contacts? People won't stay off work if it means they can't feed their family. So is he concerned at reports that many requests for the isolation payment are being refused? And how will he ensure that those carrying the virus are financially supported to isolate and reduce its spread?
Okay. Thanks very much. Well, the honourable lady says that I don't talk about contact tracing very much. I was literally answering a question on contact tracing in the previous intervention, Mr. Speaker. I talk of little else. She asks also about the questions. We are publishing further data tomorrow on contact tracing, precisely in response to the question that she asked, and she'll see that the continued improvement of our contact tracing across the country is advancing further, and we'll see that in the. I can't say any more than that because the figures aren't released until tomorrow. She asked about scientific evaluation. Absolutely, we're constantly scientifically evaluating the work that's going on, especially in Liverpool. That's one of the things that the scientists who work as part of my team and who work in NHS